So there are these two terms that are thrown around in the booktube community, movie review community, and just, reviewing in general online, and that is cliché and trope. Now, what's really the difference between these two terms, and why do I bring it up? Well, if we look into it, first let's look at trope. And of course, because it's my channel, I'm going to explore these terms using fantasy, because duh. A trope on its own, in my opinion, is not a negative. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a characteristic affiliated with the genre or what have you of the media you're using to entertain yourself. So let's say, for example, I'm reading The Lord of the Rings. It is certainly a trope for there to be a Macguffin in the fantasy genre like the One Ring. No one will dispute that. That is a trope. It's just a very well done trope. In fact, the One Ring might be the best Macguffin of all time, depending on who you ask. Now, why do I make that distinction? Because often trope is slung around with an inherently negative connotation, and I thoroughly disagree with that. Trope should not have negativity inherently tied with it. Cliché should, and that's where cliché comes in. I believe a cliché in the context we are talking about here, that's important in the context we are talking about here, specifically reviewing media, should be the tropes that are really done poorly. They bring no originality or even kind of personality to those tropes that are well established. They're just a simple walkthrough. A counterexample that does fall into the cliché territory I'm talking about here is most certainly Netflix's recent movie Bright. Now, I don't totally fault you if you like Bright. I'm not trying to trash it as a whole, that's fine. Bright's fine, it's fine. I didn't personally enjoy it, but you absolutely can. Don't take what I'm about to say as me trying to slander you for liking it, because I know it's the internet, people are gonna take it that way. But that movie was filled with cliches, left and right.
Fairy lives don't matter today.
The most prime example for me would be their Macguffin, which instead of having kind of nuance to it or any kind of originality, was the most just blanket, oh, powerful magical wand thing, and elves are around it, and they're the dispatch of the exposition for it. Oh, and unless you're the chosen and you touch it, you gonna die, but on the spoiler alert, the guy touches it, he doesn't die. Who would have seen it coming? That to me was extraordinarily cliche. It was a beat-by-beat walkthrough of a trope in the fantasy genre that had been done a million times before since Tolkien's Ring, and it just kind of felt lazy. Well, Daniel, he was the only one who could pick it up, and anyone could pick up the ring. No, Frodo was the only one pure of heart enough to actually walk it to Mordor, so you're wrong. He was the one who could pick up and carry the ring, and he needed his Sam, and guess what? Will Smith has his Sam. He just happens to be an orc. That's like the biggest original change here. We got an orc on the good side. Oh no, wait, that's been done before a lot too. Now, this obviously all ties back to originality. Originality plays a huge role in finding a distinguishing line between these two. Tropes have similar elements but contextualize themselves within the story they're in to fit right and not be entirely reliant on the trope to progress the narrative forward. That, for me at least, is what I really look for. The cliches, on the other hand, are just the story is dependent on the trope, and it's entirely the trope that moves everything along. Going back to the low-hanging fruit of Bright, everything progresses because wand. That's the entire plot and progression of the movie. Again, it's fine if you like Bright, it's a lot of fun in some ways, and it's a good little popcorn flick, but I'm using it in the context of what we're talking about here. It fails pretty miserably. And this brings me really to the final point of this video. We're currently entering an era of fantasy where authors are pulling away from tropes as hard as they can because, one, they want to be more original, and that's fine, but there is now also this just default negativity alongside tropes in general, and I do not like that, actually. There's some amazing stories that now feel like they're trying really hard to avoid these tropes, and it feels almost unnatural for the story. If you want to have a chosen one, fine, have a chosen one if it fits what needs to happen. No one's going to begrudge you for that. No one who knows what they're talking about is going to begrudge you for that. Just don't be reliant on it. I guess just like my video yesterday, all I'm asking is people to actually write what they really want to, and don't let the popular discourse dissuade you from pursuing a certain story that you want to tell. If you want to tell a story about a chosen one who finds a Macguffin to stop the Dark Lord, you go right ahead and you do it the damn best job you can. Just make it reflect you, your personality, your writing style, and have something else that's driving the story. You know, like character, conflict between them, and world elements, things like that. None of this is official, it's just my interpretation of these words and how they should be used, but I do feel rather strongly about this, because I am guilty of perpetuating the negative trope narrative, and I kind of want to push back against it. So here's my effort in that. Here's me pushing tropes back to the positive, because they can be really good fallbacks for anyone to have a nice little base for the wider story that they want to tell. Anyway guys, that's just all I had to say about this little subtopic, cliches and tropes. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and have a good one, y'all. I did that like William Shatner, I don't know why. Peace.